I'll wait for the cops to pass. Can you hear it with your ears? Can you see it with your eyes? Can you feel it wiggling between your quivering thighs? That thing with James. Once every millennium something will come along. When you feel it you will know it, 'cause it's coming on strong. That thing with James. Sit back, relax, deep breaths, no stress. Let me come inside your mind. I promise you it won't take long, the change will happen soon. You will feel something so special growing deep within you. That thing with James. That thing with James. That's me. Hi. Welcome to episode 25 of That Thing with James J. Asher II. That's me. Episode 25. This is... Let me get adjusted here. I consider this a landmark of an episode. 25 episodes. That means this is a quarter of 100 episodes recorded thus far. That's a hell of an achievement for me. And I thank everyone who has been a guest on this show, everyone who has donated to the show, everyone who has offered me support to keep doing this show. I thank you all, because without you, none of this would have been possible. I if it was just solely on my own interest and no one, there was zero traction, I don't know if I would have made it to 25 episodes, but I've made it to a quarter of 100 episodes. That's 25 weeks. I've been doing this 25 weeks. Although there was 1 week where I put out 2 episodes in a week, but that was, I think, to make up for missing a week. So it's been 25 weeks. Damn, time flies the older you get. And it just seems to get faster and faster and faster. And it's kind of nice, but it's also kind of scary at the same time. The nice part is that I just don't feel like there's not so much crisis in my life anymore. Now, that doesn't mean there's no crisis. There is still some crisis, but I've gotten pretty good in terms of me and myself. I've gotten pretty good at learning how to just not create my own crises, to not sabotage myself as much. And it takes effort. It takes willpower. It takes some determination to say, you know what? I'm going to go to that open mic tonight, because I've been doing at least one a week the past several weeks. And not going to lie, the day of, it's like, you know, I'm pretty fucking comfortable right now. I had dinner. I'm getting into this TV show. I'm comfortable, and I don't know if I want to get up. But I force myself to get up, because I know that if I don't get up and go out, and this is just one example, go to a stand-up comedy open mic, if I don't do that, I will feel miserable. Perhaps later in the evening or the next day, I will feel so bad because another part of the thing with time is that time, like oh God, what was the name of that band? The Steve Miller Band. Time keeps on slipping, slipping, slipping into the future. Well, the older you get, the faster the slip becomes. It gains speed. It becomes exponentially more slippery. Time does. And when I fail to do something, to write every day, or go out to an open mic, or record this podcast, which I haven't really missed except for one time, and that was I couldn't control it. That was a big problem I had to deal with. If I don't do these things, I feel terrible because I feel time is slipping. And before I know it, I'm going to be 40 or 50 or 60, and I will have not achieved the kind of success that I aim to achieve. I will not have accomplished the goals I want to accomplish. I will not have lived the life that I want to live. Like, I know what I want. I don't know 100%. You can't know everything. But as far as envisioning things, I've got a pretty damn clear visual of what I would like my life to look like. And I'm not going to waste time describing it now. But, yeah, I do these things, and I start out doing these things because it seems fun, and then I continue doing it, because I will feel like crap if I don't do it. It's the stuff that I have to do to stay sane. Everyone's got their own trip they're on. Everyone's doing their own thing. And in my case, I just got to do entertainment stuff, and hopefully the stuff I put out has some value. Hopefully, if you're listening to this or watching it, I hope that the content of these podcast episodes is of some value to you. I hope that it's entertaining. I hope that it offers a chance for community. I hope it offers a chance for catharsis, emotional release, maybe some education. Maybe you learn something new. Maybe you laugh, Maybe you'll hear a perspective, or maybe I'll say something that maybe triggers you to look at something in a new way, from a new perspective, from a new angle that is refreshing to your outlook on life, to the way you approach life. And yeah. But those are just unintentional. Those are just benefits that I can't control. If you get some value out of this, that would be great, and I hope there is some value, but I'm not doing it just for you to say, "Oh wow. Oh my God, you're so enlightening." Like, I don't want that. Like I already said, I'm doing this for me. And hopefully the thing I do for me that I share with you has value. So before I get any further, let me take care of some business. If you're watching this on YouTube, please, if you haven't done so already, subscribe to my channel and press the little bell button so you get notifications when there are new episodes. And like the videos you like, and leave a comment, and share the show with your friends, So, and if you're listening to this on audio, please, if you have the ability to do so, I know you can do this on iTunes, write a review for the show, give it a star rating, write a review. Hopefully, I hope it's a good review and star rating, but I'm not going to tell you what to do. You do what the fuck you want to do. Be you. Do your thing. You do you. Okay, boo? You can find me on Instagram and Twitter. My handle is @JamesJAsher. I have a website where you can see like a picture of my headshot because I'm an actor as well as a podcaster. There's a blog there. If you go way, way back before I started this podcast, you'll see some blog posts I made. One that was pretty cool. I remember I was drunk on absinthe and watching some sci-fi show on Netflix. What was it called? Oh man, it was a very much kind of like a cyberpunk kind of a show whose name escapes me, but Edgar Allan Poe played a character in it. He was like a hologram or something. He was this hotel. What the fuck? Helix or something like that? I don't remember. Well, I was drunk on absinthe and watching that show, and I became inspired. And I had just recently built this website, which, by the way, is jamesjasher.com, where you can also find my agent's contact info. If you see or hear me and say, I want to give that boy a job, you can, contact my agent there. Or if you want to contact me directly, you can email me at my podcast email, which is ThatThingWithJames@gmail.com. And all this stuff will be written in the description in case you missed it the first time, missed hearing it. Well, so going back to the blog post that's like way, way back on the blog on my website, I was watching this sci-fi show, whatever it was. I was drunk on absinthe and having a great time by myself. And it was about 11 p.m. And I became just all of these elements together inspired me to write this, I guess, essay about nature, about the nature of nature. And the whole idea behind my blog post was that we humans tend to have a hubris, a overconfidence to think that we can master nature, when in fact there's no way. You simply cannot master nature, because by definition you as a human are, I don't know what the Oxford English or Merriam-Webster definition of the word human, quote unquote, is, quote, human, unquote, is, but humans are part of nature. We are a small part of this larger thing called nature. And so I dove deep into things like how we think stuff that we do is unnatural, like we're creating plastics that are polluting the environment and everything. And I do not support polluting. I do not support pollution. I fully support renewable and sustainable sources of energy and material. And I think it's imperative that the entire earth, all nations, band together and work to, save our environment, save the earth from us, because the earth is going to last a lot longer than humans. Earth does not need us. We need the earth. Well, I was thinking, like, what about nuclear bombs? Is that unnatural? Is it unnatural for humans to have built a nuclear bomb? Is the nuclear bomb itself an unnatural thing? Is it an unnatural act to detonate a nuclear bomb? And in this absinthe, drunken, sci-fi induced later night essay, I kind of dove into the idea that perhaps no, it's not unnatural. Nuclear bombs, war, just weapons of mass destruction in general, they are not unnatural. They're destructive, absolutely, but they are not unnatural because, hear me out, because They are a expression of nature itself. Since we humans are an expression of nature, we are a product of nature. And any products that we humans create, thus, is a product of nature, because we are nature. We are nature. We're part of it. We are nature, and it's in our nature to make things that we say are unnatural, but perhaps they're not. Perhaps we're designing, perhaps nature, perhaps the machinations. Who knows if nature's conscious? I'm agnostic about things. I don't say I believe one way or another. However, I strongly suspect that everything has consciousness. I believe there's consciousness in everything. Things we may perceive as inanimate objects, maybe maybe they're imbued with some type of consciousness. Maybe consciousness is a type of matter, or something that we can't measure yet. What is consciousness? Where the fuck do your thoughts come from? Where? Are they in your brain? This voice in your head, your inner monologue, where is that? Where does that come from? When you get knocked out, maybe when you have a out-of-body experience, people have those, but you're still conscious, but you don't feel like you're in your body. So then would your consciousness necessarily be located in your body? Can a consciousness be incorporeal? I believe yes, it can. I believe everything. I believe in fractals. Fractals, man. There's a bigger consciousness, which breaks down into smaller consciousnesses. So we all think, you and I think we have our own individual consciousnesses. However, we are also at the same time part of a singular consciousness, which on an even grander scale, you keep backing out. This is how fractals work. It's the same pattern all the way in as it is all the way out. If you don't know what fractals are, look it up. Fractal. 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 I think I spelt that right. If I didn't, deal with it. But yeah, so we have these individual consciousnesses, and we think we're individual, but we're part of a larger singular consciousness, which thinks it is an individual consciousness, but it is part of an even larger singular consciousness. So everything has this, everything's sort of like a paradox. We are singular, but at the same time, whole, one. We are individual, but one at the same time. That's just stuff. And it kind of relates to the subject of this episode when I get to it. But what I was saying was like, what was I getting at? With the nuclear bombs and the war and the destruction, perhaps that is nature's way of self-regulating. If we are we humans are an appendage of nature, then perhaps when we become painful, when we become not conducive to life or the continuation of life or prosperity, perhaps our drive to kill and to possess and to take, perhaps that destructive drive, that violent drive in human beings is a way of nature self-regulating so that we don't destroy other parts of nature. Perhaps it's, we don't realize that, like, as a collective, humans are committing suicide by killing each other. It's like an external suicide. Maybe we as a whole, humanity as a whole, through violence against itself, is trying to kill itself or trying to regulate itself in some way so that it doesn't spread its violence to other things. And perhaps we're spreading our violence through pollution resulting from unfettered capitalism, deregulation, short-sighted, short-term gain at the expense of others, at the expense of other, to separate ourselves from the other, from something that is not us or something that is not familiar to us. That is part of capitalism, is to exploit the other. That is an intrinsic part. It's got to be regulated, because if it's not, it doesn't stop. It becomes a virus and it destroys the environment through pollution in the effort to achieve short-term gains. For what purpose? For what purpose? And then we get to the existential question of, why are you doing this? Why? Who are you? Who are you to do this? What do you think to gain? Don't you know you're going to expire at some point? Is all this stuff you're destroying for? Is all this stuff you're exploiting others in order to gain? In order to hoard these things that you want, these material things you want? What are they going to mean to you when you're fucking dead? Anyway, nature regulates itself so that it can keep living. And, dying of entropy, but maybe pre-entropic destruction needs to be regulated, and maybe nature by way of global warming. I'll say it. Fuck it. Climate change was just newspeak. Anyway, it's fucking global warming. It's global scorching now. Well, it will be soon enough if we don't do something about how we treat the environment. Global scorching. Global scorching. Think of when you have a virus, when you're sick, you've got a virus or bacterial infection or something, and you get a fever. Why do you get a fever? You get a fever in part because your body is working overtime to get new, I think white blood cells and T cells and stuff. It's been a while since I took biology class. You're expending a lot of heat energy, which we run on heat energy and some electricity as well. Maybe a lot of electricity, I don't know. But we expend a lot of heat energy. That's why a warm body, you feel warmth coming off of a person. And you feel more warmth coming off of a person when they're ill because their body's producing new cells to combat the good cells, to combat the bad cells that are trying to eat away at your body before entropy can get at it. Or maybe it is an articulation of entropy itself, war and stuff like that. Another part is that another reason for a fever is that you kind of cook it out. As you get warmer, not only are you producing cells to help keep you alive and get the bad stuff out, but also the rise in temperature can kill off bacteria or some viruses. And perhaps global warming is the Earth's fever. Perhaps it's trying to cook out the virus or the bacteria that is making it ill. That's part of nature, and we're part of nature. And so maybe it's part of human nature to say that's unnatural, when in fact it is natural. However, it doesn't mean it's conducive to living, and it doesn't mean it's going to help us as human beings to continue to live. And so, yeah, that's what I wrote about. That's what you can find in the blog. Dude, I fucking went off on the deep end there. What else? Oh, if you want to donate to this show, you may do so at my Patreon, patreon.com/ThatThingWithJames. You can donate as little as $1 per month or as much as, what was it? $15,000 a month or $13,000 a month, something like that. A little over $10,000 a month if you've got fuck you money or if you're just really bad at money management. There's several different tiers. You can choose one if you want to donate, and it can help me keep this show going, help me get better equipment, help me create more and better content, get more guests on the show. So if you want to do that, yeah, you can do that. Patreon.com/ThatThingWithJames. And it's a monthly donation sort of a thing. So if you want to donate, you may choose whatever tier you want. And just know that it's a monthly kind of a thing. So don't be surprised if you just want to make a one-time donation and then don't sign off of the program and then be charged again to say, what the hell? You've been warned. Okay? I am going to take a quick water break, and then I'm going to get into the meat and potatoes of this show. I will be right back. And we're back. I feel refreshed now. Hopefully you don't hear a bumping sound in the background. There's a couple people playing basketball outside, and apparently they feel the need to slam the basketball as hard as possible into the ground. You don't have to, just dribble. You don't have to fucking murder the ball, man. Anyway, this morning, on with the show. This morning, I was trying to think of what to talk about on the show today, and I was having a very difficult time coming up with an idea of what to talk about. I certainly didn't expect to talk about how nuclear bombs are natural, and I feel I must say I do not support war or imperialism or exploitation. I oppose those things. I oppose the use of nuclear weapons and weapons of mass destruction, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, I was trying to think of something to talk about, and I didn't think of anything, and I was like, oh, well, when I get to recording, I'll see what happens. And I decided, I want to read a bit of Dune, Frank Herbert's Dune. I've only read, I started it years ago, and I only got 100 pages in, and I want to restart it. I want to get through it this time. And so I was looking for Dune. I've got stacks of books everywhere in this apartment. And I picked up what I thought was Dune, but no. It turned out to be The Dubliners by James Joyce. Yeah, look at me. I've got classic books, yo. So I put Dubliners back, and then I was like, okay, where is it? It's right next to it. Dune, right next to it. And then right on top of Dune was another book that caught my eye. It was a book that I thought I had lost sometime in a move or something, lost in transition. It's this book right here. If you're watching, you can see this book. It's called 14 Lessons in Yogi Philosophy by Yogi Ramacharaka. It's an old book. It's falling apart, so I have to be very careful. The spine, the pages have become detached from the spine. I'd like to get this thing repaired if I can, because I want to keep this. It's an old book. This book, 14 Lessons in Yogi Philosophy and Oriental Occultism by Yogi Ramacharaka, author of Science of Breath and Hatha Yoga. This was first copyrighted in 1903 by the Yogi Publication Society. 1903 was when this was first published. The next copyright was the next year, 1904. And then this edition that I have in my hands right now is from 1931. So it is an old book. Now, I found it when I was just out of college, just out of undergrad. I was working for a summer show at the theater, at the bigger, I think it's closed down now, Shawnee Street Theater in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. I think it's it used to be a church. I forget what kind of church, Presbyterian or Methodist or something. It used to be a church, a big church. And then it was converted into a theater, I believe, by the college. And it's since been closed down because it had a lot of asbestos. A lot of asbestos. Asbestos. It's got had a lot of bad shit in it, so I think it got closed down. I don't even know if it's still standing anymore. But it was there, and it was definitely haunted. I mean, come on. You got first it's a church, and then it becomes another kind of a church. It becomes a theater for plays and shows, musicals and shit like that. So there's a lot of like energy, a lot of emotion stored in the walls and the ceiling and the floor, stored in every fiber of that theater, the Shawnee Street Theater. Well, anyway, I was there. I was working. We were building a set, and before the show, we were building the set. And at one point, I think we were helping to clear out some office space that was being used for storage because like they were trying to build a new library space or something. And so we were clearing out these boxes full of books and books and books. And this book kind of jumped out at me. It caught my eye like it did this morning. 14 Lessons in Yogi Philosophy. It caught my eye and I picked it up because I was already interested in occultism and yoga and philosophy. I was like, this is fucking great. And it's an old book, published in 1931. Was that it? 1931? Yeah. Of course I'm taking this book. So I took the book. I mean, I asked the professor if I could, and she was like, yeah, of course. No one's going to read that. Of course you would pick that. I said, of course I would. This is my book now. So I took it, and I read it all. It's an interesting book. It's definitely old. There's definitely some like older kind of language in it, like the use of the word Oriental. One of my cousins in my hometown in Oklahoma used to talk about any kind of like Asian or South Pacific peoples. He called them Orientals. And the guy was a dumb hick. Orientals is what he called them in the early 2000s. Like, come on, dude. Seriously, you are willfully ignorant. Orientals. Well, after I read the book, sometime after I read the book, I decided to look up who is this Yogi Ramacharaka. Or Yogi Ramacharaka. So I looked him up. Now, before I get into detail, I wanted to give you a moment to think. What do you think Yogi Ramacharaka looks like? Take your time. What do you think he looks like? Is he tan or pale? Is he regal or scruffy? Is he wearing a turban, or is he just letting his bald head go? What's Yogi Ramacharaka look like? Okay, that's enough time for you, because I'm going to go ahead and tell you. Yogi Ramacharaka did not look how I expected him to look. I expected Yogi Ramacharaka to look like, whatever that yogi guy, whatever that dude's name is from Be Here Now. And I'm not talking about the author. I'm talking about the yoga master that he met in India, the guy who like knew the writer's full history, whatever the guy's name is. No, Yogi Ramacharaka was a middle-aged American white man. His real name was William Walker Atkinson. He was born December 5th in 1862, and then he died November 22nd, 1932. So that would place him at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. What was that? Wait. Okay, fuck. I'm terrible with age, man. What was that? 70? 80? Let's see. 6, 7, 8, 9. 90? No. How the fuck old was this guy? Okay, I think 70. Goddamn. Now you see, this is why I studied theater. I'm shit at math, okay? Anyway, William Walker Atkinson was an attorney, merchant, publisher, and author, as well as an occultist and an American pioneer in the New Thought movement. He is the author of the pseudonymous work attributed to Theron Q. Dumont. Fucking talk about a fake name. Theron Q. Dumont. I think this is a fake ass name. He could do better, William Walter Atkinson. And he also went under the pen name, the pseudonym Yogi Ramacharaka. He wrote, an estimated 100 books, all in the last 30 years of his life. He was mentioned in past editions of Who's Who in America, in Religious Leaders of America, and in several similar publications. His works have remained in print more or less continuously since 1900. Wow. How about that? Life and career. I'm looking this up on Wikipedia if you want to find this, and also so I can give attribution, proper citation, because I'm a good student. William Walker Atkinson was born in Baltimore, Maryland on December 5th, 1862 to Emma and William Atkinson. He began his working life as a grocer at 15 years old, probably helping his father. He married Margaret Foster Black of Beverly, New Jersey in October 1889, and they had 2 children. The first probably died young. What's with all these probablys? The second later married and had 2 daughters. Atkinson pursued a business career from 1882 onwards, and in 1894, he was admitted as an attorney to the Bar of Pennsylvania. While he gained much of his material success in his profession as a lawyer, the stress and overstrain eventually took its toll. And during this time, he experienced a complete physical and mental breakdown and financial disaster. He looked for healing, and in the late 1880s, he found it with New Thought, later attributing the restoration of his health, mental vigor, and material prosperity to the application of the principles of New Thought. What is New Thought? Let's look that up. The New Thought movement, aka Higher Thought movement, is a movement which developed in the United States in the 19th century. For those of you who don't know the difference between centuries and 19th century is the 1800s. It is considered by many to have been derived from the unpublished writings of Phineas Quimby. Phineas Quimby. There are numerous smaller groups, most of which are incorporated in the International New Thought Alliance. The contemporary New Thought movement is a loosely allied group of religious denominations, authors, philosophers, and individuals who share a set of beliefs concerning metaphysics, positive thinking, the law of attraction, healing, life force, creative visualization, and personal power. I'm not going to go any further on New Thought. I want to get back to Yogi Ramacharaka. So sometime after his healing, Atkinson began to write articles on the truths he felt he had discovered, which were then known as mental science. In 1889, an article by him entitled A Mental Science Catechism appeared in Charles Fillmore's new periodical Modern Thought. By the early 1890s, Chicago had become a major center for New Thought, mainly through the work of Emma Curtis Hopkins, and Atkinson decided to move there. Who the fuck wrote this? Once in the city, he became an active promoter of the movement as an editor and author. He was responsible for publishing the magazines Suggestion, New Thought, and Advanced Thought. Ooh. In 1900, Atkinson worked as an associate editor of Suggestion, a New Thought journal, and wrote his probable first book, Thought Force in Business and Everyday Life. Man, if that doesn't sound like, those business books that people are still making these days. I can't think of any author's name right now. The first that came to mind was Joel Osteen. He's basically like the business writer of shit religion. He beginning a series of lessons in personal magnetism, psychic influence, thought force, concentration, willpower, and practical mental science. He then met Sidney Flower, a well-known New Thought publisher and businessman, and teamed up with him. In December 1901, he assumed editorship of Flower's popular New Thought magazine, a post which he held until 1905. Yada, yada, yada. Pseudonyms, blah, 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 blah. Okay, here's what I want to get to. Let me check my time. Checking the time. Okay. Here's what I want to get to. Hinduism and yoga. In the 1890s, Atkinson had become interested in Hinduism, and after 1900, he devoted a great deal of effort to the diffusion of yoga and Oriental occultism in the West. It is unclear at this late date whether he actually ever converted any form of Hindu religion, converted to any form of Hindu religion, or merely wished to write on the subject. If he did convert, he left no record of the event. Yeah. This is all very interesting stuff. So, he got into yoga, and this was part of a movement in the early 1900s. That, and I think it's called spiritualism, where they do seances and stuff. There was a lot of crossover between that and New Thought. And so if you've seen the movie, it's a highly underrated movie, in my opinion. I think it's a great movie. It's often overlooked, called Mystery Men. It starred Ben Stiller. And one of my favorite actors is in it, Hank Azaria. He plays a character, I think it was called the Blue Raja. Well, if you've seen the movie, you know what he looked like. Maybe he wore just like a turban and like a blue silk robe, I guess, that he stole from his mother. And he threw forks. That was his like superpower, was he was really good at throwing utensils. So, but the Blue Raja, if that was indeed his name, the whole Raja thing, that whole aesthetic of that character harkened back to this early 1900s new movement in yoga and occultism and stuff coming into the West. A lot of what they called Eastern mysticism became popular in the Western world. For example, you would see like yogis, yoga practitioners in like circus acts or freak shows or something as contortionists, when indeed all they were doing was just some really advanced forms of yoga. I mean, they were just some twisty bodies. And this also manifested in people like Yogi Ramacharaka. Some people became interested in stuff like meditation and the idea of psychic powers and how they link together, supposedly. And also another thing was at the same time, Konstantin Stanislavski, the guy who helped create what we now regard as like acting or the method. There really is no like the method. There's no one like the method. He was just laying the groundwork for what would become different kind of approaches to acting, but every like contemporary or modern method of acting, a method approach to playing a role and analyzing a role and everything, he helped start that. Konstantin Stanislavski, a Russian guy. And he, too, was interested in new thought stuff, as well as in new psychology of people like Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung. These were new things, like new territories that people were exploring in psychology and what drives a human, what shapes human thought, what shapes our behavior, and why we behave, why we make the choices we make, so on and so forth. So Konstantin Stanislavski was interested in that, and he was also interested in the Eastern mysticism and I imagine occult stuff as well. Well, part of his approach, his method was to practice yoga. He would learn and teach his students yoga and meditation, and they would learn how to like rings of awareness or rings of concentration, where basically it's a form of meditation where you light a candle in front of you and basically you bring all of your awareness, all of your consciousness to a certain ring around you, like just this small space, and maybe you expand your consciousness to a larger ring around you where you're aware and concentrating on a space that is only so far away from you. And then the rings keep expanding, and how as to how far out you are being aware of sights and sounds and smells and stuff like that. Hopefully that makes sense. All of that stuff was incorporated into not only becoming a whole person, but in so doing also becoming a whole performer, so that you can bring your whole person, you're an actualized individual, and you're bringing yourself to a role. And instead of just striking a pose and declaring your lines, no, you're living as yourself, just under imaginary circumstances. So that was going on around the same time as Yogi Ramacharaka wrote this book. And I'm going to read to you the contents of this book. It's just kind of interesting to me. I find it interesting. So it's 14 lessons. Lesson 1 is called The First 3 Principles on the Threshold. And this is like breaking down what's in each chapter or lesson. The breakdown of lesson 1 is on the threshold, the constitution of man, the 7 principles of man, the physical body, the astral body, prana, or the vital force. Prana, dude. Life energy. Lesson 2, the mental principles. That is the instinctive mind and the intellect. Lesson 3, the spiritual principles. That is the spirit mind, the spirit itself, illumination, or spiritual consciousness. Lesson 4, the human aura. So you can see auras. There's the health aura, the pranic aura, not panic, pranic aura, as in prana. The aura of the 3 mental principles, spirit aura, auric colors, phenomena, etc. Lesson 5, thought dynamics, nature, quality and power of thought, thought forms, thought influences, the occult teachings on this great subject. Lesson 6, telepathy, clairvoyance, etc. So this one is about clairvoyance, clairaudience, psychometry, telepathy, etc. Plus how to develop psychic powers. That's all in this book, man. He's got exercises and he describes things that other cultures have been describing for a long time. And even when he comes down to describing prana, I think 1903 was when this first came out. He's talking about gravitational waves and shit like that before I think even the special theory of relativity was penned by the ingenious Albert Einstein. Let me look up theory of relativity, the special theory of relativity. Let's see, when was this published? 1905. He published the theory of special relativity in 1905. Albert Einstein did. And he's talked about a lot of it had to do with gravity, gravitational force, gravitational waves, and the subjective nature of time-space, which are one and the same, by the way. When you move through space, you're moving through time. And when you move through time, you move through space. So if you do the time, you better have the space. Okay, now get off of my case. Yogi Ramacharaka was talking about that shit. I was reading about it and I opened the book and started reading, and he was talking about prana and just what it is, like electricity and gravitational waves and force and stuff like this. I'm like, dude, you're describing fucking physics, just with different language, and you don't have like mathematic equations to describe it and prove it or anything, but you're describing shit that people are proving now. It's fucking crazy, dude. Where was I at? Lesson 7, human magnetism. That is pranic energy, uses and properties, directions for development and use of human magnetism. It's kind of like personal magnetism, kind of like animal magnetism, but a little bit different. And it's using more of like your prana energy. A lot of yoga deals with prana, getting the life force, the electricity, the pure building block energy running through you. And I thought about this earlier. It was like when you're unhealthy, the prana is not flowing very well. But when you're healthy, you've got good flow of prana. And the idea of prana is not limited just to yoga. It's also in other martial arts like qigong or tai chi. Qi is the same thing as prana, energy, life force, like in Star Wars, the Force. You know, this shit's all over human consciousness, man. It's fucking out there, dude. It's out there, man. And so I was thinking about this metaphor. I was like, okay, money as a metaphor for prana, and a society as a metaphor for a human body. So if you've got poor circulation of prana, then the human body feels ill. Just like if you have poor circulation of money in a society, the society feels ill. If the money is pooling up and stagnating in certain select areas, which necessarily causes a restriction of flow of money to other areas of the society, then the society is ill. Just as like if prana, or if blood flow, if your blood's pulling up and stagnating in some part of your body and it's restricting the flow of blood to the other parts of your body, you're not going to feel that well. But if your blood's flowing, then you're going in a good way. So yeah, that's a cool, right? That's so wow. Lesson 8, occult therapeutics, spiritual healing, mental healing, pranic healing, theory and practice. Lesson 9, psychic, I can read Roman numerals. Psychic influence, personal magnetism, mesmerism, etc. Explained with instructions regarding self-protection and warnings against the misuse of power. A timely lesson upon an important subject. Lesson 10, the astral world, its phenomena, the astral body, astral helpers. At first glance, I thought that said astral herpes. You want to avoid that if possible. Lesson 11, beyond the border. The survival of the ego after passing out of the physical body, where it goes and what it does after the change called death. Lesson 12, spiritual evolution, growth of the soul, its travels, its purposes, its goal. Lesson 13, spiritual cause and effect, the yogi teachings regarding the puzzling question of human life, conduct, the sowing and reaping explained. And then finally, lesson 14, the yogi path of attainment. That is the threefold path, which is also found in Buddhism, I think, or it might be the eightfold. There's a lot of different folds. There's different things like Qigong has like an eightfold thing, I think, whatever these folds are. Methods, directions, plans, etc. Advice and words of encouragement to the neophyte. Now, unfortunately, I'm coming up on an hour here, and I'm limiting myself to hour-long episodes, so I'm going to use this time to kind of give you blue balls, or blue ovaries, or blue hopes, because I'm not going to read any from the book today. I think I might save that for the next episode. So keep watching, and you'll get to hear some of the stuff that's written by Yogi Ramacharaka in the 14 Lessons in Yogi Philosophy. I just find it entertaining, man. It's interesting stuff. And maybe you find it interesting too. If you do find it interesting, why don't you donate to the show at patreon.com/thatthingwithjames. Holy shit, what a smooth transition that was. And when you're done donating, you can visit me, you can hit me up. I will respond on social media, Twitter and Instagram, at James J. Asher. Visit my website, read my blog, get my agent's contact info at my website, jamesjasher.com. If you're listening to this, and if you're able to, please rate this show and this episode and write a review. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please do a similar thing. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on the notifications so you know when I get this great content to you. This fantastic, high quality, incomparable, #1, the best of the best cream of the crop, cream dream makes the dream come true. This show, subscribe to it on YouTube, write a comment, give it a like, give me a thumbs up, like the videos you like, and share the show with your friends. Please spread the love, baby. If you've got any musings you want to share, if you have any questions for me, if you have any ideas for something for me to talk about or a segment for the show, if you need advice, contact me at my email, ThatThingWithJames@gmail.com. All of this information will be written in the description in case you missed it the first time in hearing it. So do. See what else? I think that's it. Thank you so much for tuning in. I love you. I believe in you. Keep fighting the good fight. Love one another, man. Peace. I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Auf Wiedersehen. Tutu, toodaloo, ta-ta, tt, aloha. Bye.